All right, yo, what's up? My name's Patrouski, and recently I've been playing a ton of randoms PvP and PokeMMO, and I've been on a little bit of a tear. I think I'm currently 16-3 on the season, so doing super well win rate wise. They got like an 84% win rate, and in my opinion, one of the best ways to improve in PokeMMO PvP or just any video game in general, VOD reviewing. VOD reviewing is probably one of those important, impactful things you can do to improve as a player, and also, really, these games were just insane. I actually had some of the craziest random games. I kid you not. Some of the most unwinnable games I've ever had that I was able to win. People always say, you know, how do you win randoms? How do people have 80% win rates in randoms? Like, how, you know, it's such an RNG based format. I go into randoms, I get given shit Pokemon, and I always lose, you know, whatever. And I'm here to tell you, I think randoms is an extremely skill based format. Now, I always say that I think 1 out of every 10 games is kind of, you're given a disadvantage based on your team, and then 1 out of every 10 games you're given a huge advantage because of your team. So we're going to jump into this game today and see how I get out of a disadvantaged game, in my opinion. In my opinion, I'm not no PvP expert. I'm much more of a shiny hunter and PVM, storyline, general guide, focused player, but in my opinion, this randoms game looked unwinnable. We see a Ninetales lead into a Leafeon Pinsir Cacturn immediately off the bat. Not a single fire resist on the team to be seen. Not a single water type, not a single ground type. I'm checking moves. I'm looking for some way to answer this Ninetales without completely inting. My only way is to maybe go over to my Stantler. Hopefully it tanks things enough. He tanks a flamethrower and try to set up screens. And look at that. I take almost 50%. Yep, almost 50% damage. So I am getting essentially 2-shot by this Ninetales just to be able to set up a screen or something to bring in my Scarf. I think my best play here is to be able to bring in my Scarf Pinsir to be able to answer the Ninetales. And then look at that. Tangela comes in. So now that I've seen Tangela, I'm sitting here like, this guy has 2 Pokemon that counter my entire team. Right? Ninetales and Tangela. All my Pokemon are grass types. They're not going to be able to hit Tangela. Tangela is a defensive wall. This guy has 2 Pokemon that counters essentially my entire team. Ice Punch on Lopunny is not going to do too much. Return Lopunny is like maybe my best damage against this thing. Maybe like Hidden Power Ice Raichu. This is one of the most extreme examples of 2 Pokemon countering an entire 6-man Pokemon roster that I've maybe ever seen in randoms. There's a lot of thinking here, a lot of panicking, a lot of this game is over. This game is lost. There's nothing I can do. I'm trying to crawl my way back to victory, and let's see how I do it, because I don't remember in full. We're going to go over to Raichu. It's probably the only play here. Go over to Raichu. He's going to go for an Ancient Power. And thankfully do very little damage and not get a boost. Obviously, it's only a 10% chance to get a boost, but now I have that in the back of my head. Like, now I'm scared of this Hidden Power. I'm going to Vault Switch, probably assuming that he's switching out over to something else. I don't think he wants to stay in here against the Raichu. But let's see what I think I'm Vault Switching, assuming he's going to switch. Maybe he switches, maybe he doesn't. He doesn't switch. He goes straight for the Leech Seed, which I perfectly go into the Cacturn to play around. Checking speed tiers is important here. Speed tiers and randoms is another just super complicated thing. My team is decently fast. Infernape comes in, a second fire type. Once again, keep in mind let's just pause for a sec. Infernape counters Leafeon, Pinsir, Cacturn, Lopunny, and Stantler, right? This one Pokemon hits 5 of my Pokemon for super effective. Let's keep that in mind. It hits my Cacturn for 4 times, by the way, with a U-turn. Like, this is one of the most insane. I know I'm just saying it over and over again, but this is just one of the craziest matchups, one of the most unfair randoms matchups I have ever seen in my personal life. I go for a Drain Punch there, because I know that I'm Focus Sash. And it's one of the only ways I can make this play. I then go for a Sucker Punch to hopefully take care of the Ninetales after an SD. This is the only way I'm going to be able to pull back this game. A Venomoth comes in, another Pokemon that counters me extremely hard. I either go for Sucker Punch Chip here, or I switch out. The issue is I don't think I ever Sucker Punch here, right? Because I'm scared of Quiver Dance. So I think I have to make a hard switch over to something like Pinsir and go for a Rock Slide. What do I click here? No way I click Drain Punch, right? That feels like an int. I guess I am SD'd up. I'm checking base stats. I'm checking base defense. I think Pinsir is probably the best play here. Switching to Pinsir. Do I click Drain Punch? I think I do. No way, really. Maybe I make the right play. I think about it for a long time. I thought about that for a long time, and I knew that if he Q dances here, I have to be able to switch in. Hopefully be faster with Starf. I'm choice Starf Pinsir here. Hopefully be faster. He goes for a second Quiver Dance because he is greedy. He was faster. I remember that. That's the craziest thing about this, is that he actually was faster. And now I also am in another situation where I feel like I may have lost the game. But thankfully, Venomoth always ends up doing less damage than I expect in randoms. I don't know why. I don't know if it's base... We just checked its base special attack, but its base special attack, I feel like it never ends up doing as much damage as you would expect. And he goes for and hits a Sleep Powder after 2 Quiver Dances. He's Black Sludge healing. Thankfully, Quiver Dance is not going to give him defense, so all I can really do here is just stay in and try to answer with Rock Slide. Because he won't have access to Roost or anything, goes for a Giga Drain, does a fair bit of damage to me, honestly, and heals for a fair amount. I think my only situation here is to stay in and try to chip him down and hopefully bring in something afterwards. But I don't know if I think my best play here is to stay in, wake up, go for a Rock Slide. I don't think he kills. He does kill with that, right? Am I trying to bring in Cacturne to Sucker Punch? How do I get out of this? I don't remember, as we can see. I go Raichu and probably Thunderbolt, right? Probably my best play. No way I go Lopunny and go for like a Switcheroo. It's so greedy. It's so risky. Let's see what I don't remember what I do here. We'll have to see. If I were to make this play again, what's the item on the Lopunny? I have to see it again. Oof. We're at turn 13. Like, this whole fight has just been like every single turn, it's like, okay, I'm about to instantly lose the game. How do I, like, every single turn is fighting for my life, trying not to get obliterated here. We bring the Lopunny in, go for the return. Surprised I think just going for big damage. I'm level 80 versus 75. Surprised I didn't go for the Giga Drain there. Yeah, Giga Drain would have been huge. I'm just trying to find some way to get some damage. And maybe be able to bring in Sucker Punch and chip this thing down. I think I know that after getting rid of he goes for a Giga there, opponent makes a huge misplay. I remember this. If my opponent just clicked Bug Buzz there, I think he just wins the game. But because he clicked Giga there, yeah, if my opponent just clicked Buzz there. So now in games like this, you are banking. When you're this behind, your opponent does have to make, like, you only need one big misplay. I always say in randoms, man, if you're super behind on a team like this, your opponent just has to make one misplay for you to take advantage of that, for you to be able to come back. And that's almost always going to happen. Like, below, even top 100, you're easily making one mistake a game. You know, it's always going to happen. So I went ahead and tricked a Flame Orb onto him because I knew that I was going to go ahead and go down. I knew that return wouldn't do too much damage. We can now bring in the Cacturne and go for a big Seed Bomb. The burn isn't really going to hurt him too much. I do live the Earth Power, thankfully, and the Seed Bomb one-shots. Cacturne has really high base attack and special attack, but very low speed and pretty low defenses. Kind of it's a slow glass cannon. It doesn't really do anything super well, unfortunately. Infernape is the next Pokemon to come in, and I probably just Sucker Punch here for Chip. I feel like it's my only play, right? As I go for some sort of crazy predict. I think Sucker Punch for Chip is the best value out of my Cacturne here. Let's see what I go for. Let's see what he's thinking. What are my other options? I don't think I have any other. There's no way I can't. In a situation like this, in a game like this, I just can't be switching around to, like, take Chip on my other Pokemon. It sucks because when you're behind like this, when you're at the disadvantage, switching around to take Chip on other Pokemon is just gonna it's gonna put you behind even more. You kind of have to make those. If you're already behind from a team perspective, it's okay to make those risky plays and bank on opponents' mistakes to some extent. I feel like sometimes that is your only path to victory. Sometimes your only path to victory is hoping your opponent disconnects, you know, as the great Spidget always says. So we somehow are sitting in this game as a 3 versus 3. Like, I think that's the most amazing, like, three of his Pokemon countered my entire team. Two of his Pokemon countered my entire. The first two Pokemon he showed countered my entire team, and somehow this game is currently sitting at a 3v3, which is really where I start to realize like this game is winnable. How do I win this? What is the best play for me to operate here? I probably go. Do I just go Stantler here? Stantler's the safest play. I can get some value. I'd never click HP Ice into Tangela. I probably should have at some point. I think I just think of Tangela as being like hyper tanky, and it really is hyper tanky, especially like in its defensive stat, but it's not that tanky as a special defensive Pokemon for what I remember correctly. So I probably should go over that. I go for a Safeguard into the Sleep Powder because I know that he probably has that in the back. He hasn't shown it yet. He's shown Leech Seed. I go for the Safeguard. He misses the Sleep Powder anyway, so hilariously that Safeguard didn't work, but it still would have been a baller play. I forget what I clicked there. Probably just return or something, or I'm trying to set up screens. What I'm probably trying to do is set up, my guess, if I can like remember, I'm probably trying to set up screens so that I can let my Leafeon like curse up and just sweep. I think that's like my best path to victory here. Setting up screens, using my Stantler as utility to sort of allow my other Pokemon to win. And then since Infernape is chipped from the Sucker Punch, I need to chip him a little more. And my opponent concedes there. I totally forgot he conceded. But that game was crazy. Now, obviously, there was a little bit of bad luck from him, as you can see from like the Sleep Powder miss and certain things. But he also hit the one Sleep Powder. He got like an unneeded crit from the Infernape attacking. I think it was the U-turn into the Cacturn. But from a team perspective, that game should have been lost. From a team perspective, that was the most unwinnable randoms games that I've maybe ever won. And then we had two back-to-back. So this is another super unwinnable, in my opinion, randoms game. And I made a huge mistake here. I made a very, very big mistake where I totally throw away a very powerful Pokemon, and I'll show you guys that it'll be pretty early on here. This team is actually really good looking from the surface. Like I see Flygon. I'm surprised. How do I get countered here in some way? Let's see. Well, they lead Cloyster, and we have Flygon. So they have a 4 times effective Pokemon against us. I'm already looking at for Alligator, so I'm probably switching into that. Or I could go Cloyster here. I'm just trying to check out my team a little bit more. With randoms, you really have to adapt so quickly in randoms. Like you're trying to soak in all of the information of all of the Pokemon you have access to, all of the abilities, all of the intimidates, all of the defensive typing switches, all of the items. Like you're really trying to absorb all this information extremely, extremely quickly. Let's see what I go for here. I'm assuming I don't want to go for Alligator here, I feel like, because Cloyster is just a defensive wall anyway. So it's going to be able to like deal with it pretty well, even though it can't do too much damage to me. Rock Blast might do a fair bit, but I think it's my only option, so I do end up going there for Alligator. I think it's my best option and kind of my only option. Icicle Spear there, hitting me 5 times, doing 50 HP, doing a fair bit of damage, honestly, out of 250. I go for an SD here. And then he goes for a Toxic Spikes. Now I remember why this game was so hard. Cloyster lead into my team, setting up Toxic Spikes, and then one layer of Spikes. Toxic Spikes and Spikes are just so ridiculously good. Hazards in general are insane in randoms. Like if you can set up hazards, you always want to do it in randoms, essentially. Thankfully, we take them out before you can set up another layer of Spikes, but we're also Life Orb for Alligator, so we're chipping ourselves down while getting off this damage. I do outspeed him here, so I think I just go ahead and stay in and go for the return. Does he just throw away his Sunflora here, or does he lives, goes for a Sunny Day. Now he has Chlorophyll. I probably don't kill with Aqua Jet, right? So there's 2 options here. I could, number 1, go for the Aqua Jet chip and probably not kill. I'm not sure if I do. Under Sun? Probably not. I probably don't kill with Aqua Jet under Sun. Or I could switch out over to something. Now, a huge mistake that I make that is really obvious to a lot of players here, I should have switched to my Flygon way more this game. So I do stay in. I think I just go for, would I just go for Waterfall, I guess? Assuming, I see. I was hoping that he might have been Solar Power, because you do see a fair amount of Solar Power in randoms on Sunflora. It really could be either Solar Power or Chlorophyll. So I think I was just hoping it was, Solar Power. I definitely probably should have gone over to Executor. I was a little scared of HP Fire here, and this is the worst play of the entire game. Look at this. I switch in my Cloyster, go to try to kill it with an Ice Shard, don't do enough damage, and I die. I just totally int my Cloyster. That I literally just lost a super powerful Pokemon, Choice Band Cloyster, for no reason. And you might have just noticed, I switched my Flygon in, and oh, look, it's a flying type Pokemon. It doesn't take spikes damage. Of course, you moron. Like, I totally should have switched in my Flygon way sooner here. Now, to be fair, I take a ridiculous amount of damage there because I am Dragon Ground, so you do take a lot of damage here from the Sunflora. Thankfully, after one D-Dance, I am faster since Sunflora has a 30 base stat speed or so even under Chlorophyll, it's honestly not that crazy fast. Delcatty then comes in after. I'm faster than this thing. I go for a Roost to sort of check damage and see if it has some sort of ice type attack. Return comes out doing ridiculous damage. Now, I can't really click Roost here and just sort of wait until they crit me and lose, right? I probably need to go for either a Dragon Claw, EQ, or switch out. I think a switch over to Rhyhorn is pretty safe here. That's probably what I go for. Looking back, that's probably the best play. Switch over to Rhyhorn. Can I set up my own rocks if I do that? Do I have Stealth Rocks on this Rhyhorn? That becomes a huge... I don't have Stealth Rocks on this thing. That's unfortunate. But I'm going to take very little damage from the turn. The issue is I do take the poison, obviously. Like, every single switch in, I have to consider the fact that I'm now getting poisoned upon the switch, which is really devastating. I go for an EQ. It's a pretty neutral move. It does really solid damage to the incoming Whiscash. However, I am getting poisoned down pretty quickly. I'm a decently defensive wall here. This thing's probably going to go for like Ice Beam, Surf, or Scald, though, so I probably make the switch over to especially defensive grass type like Executor. Yep, Executor is the easy play here, the easy switch. He goes for D-Dance. I probably go for Power Whip here. I think I remember this Power Whip. I go for Sleep Powder. I guess that's pretty fair as well. It's probably same, gives me a little more breathing room. It's the same-ish accuracy, I think, but he goes for a sub on the Sleep Powder, which was a really good play by my opponent. Kind of a demon play. I respect it. And now I'm in this really shitty situation. Now I'm hard from behind where I'm trying to figure out what can I do here. Well, now I'm giving my Executor just to be able to hopefully be able to let this Whiscash leave without having a sub up. And he crits. That crit killed my Executor, which is really unfortunate, I feel like. I only see Delcatty, so my switch in here, I go Rhyhorn based off the information that the only Pokemon that I know he has is Delcatty, and he's probably bringing that in. Once again, information in randoms is super important here. I never ever go Houndoom on the blind play here. That would be insane. And I don't want to go... Flygon is more abusable, where if he brings some sort of Ice typer, it's going to be a lot more problematic for me. Versus if I go right on here, I lead it into his Hippowdon. He does have Ice Fang on this thing, so I sort of dodge. I totally could have forgotten that, not thought about him having Ice Fang. It's very possible if I brought my Flygon in there, I would have been obliterated. But now I'm in this weird situation, another weird situation where Flygon's going to come in. I try to roost. I think it's my best play is to roost up, hopefully lose the flying typing so I don't take enough damage from the Ice Fang. Hippowdon has a pretty low attack, and it's still one-shots. I was so blown away by that. I was tilted by that. I'm not going to lie. The fact that Ice Fang one-shot me there, I couldn't believe it. And now I am Houndoom versus the world. Houndoom versus Probopass, Hippowdon, Delcatty. Do I lose this game? I thought I won this game looking back, but this looks like a loss to me. I don't know how. Yeah, this is a loss and a half. This is a loss and a half. Now, this is a great example. I'm glad we actually reviewed this, because this is the perfect example in comparison to the previous game. The previous game was a lost game from the team preview, right? But I played it well enough and I looked for mistakes to be able to come back. This game could have totally been won. This was totally my fault. I shouldn't have thrown away my Cloyster. I shouldn't. Obviously, it was kind of crazy. The Hippowdon Ice Fang one-shot my Flygon. Obviously, I lost the flying typing off the roost, so I thought it'd be good enough. But nope, still one-shot me. I'm surprised Hippowdon had that attack. But yeah, so there's a lot of things to learn from this. Respect Hippowdon's attack damage a bit more. Don't sacrifice Cloyster in that way. You gotta get a Calcs. Like, Calcs running calculations just honestly would have helped this game a lot and would have helped this win rate a ton. So hopefully you guys learned something from this little VOD review, from these just really interesting games. Like this video if you enjoy this kind of thing, dislike if not, and subscribe for daily PokeMMO videos. Follow me on Twitch for streams Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. ET. Discord's down below if you're interested in that. And if you want to go above and beyond and support the channel, YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, and PayPal/Venmo are linked down below. I'm going to keep doing some PvP while I'm rocking it this season, and we'll just see how things go. Hopefully I can get on a little bit of a tear and keep it up. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you guys later. Peace, Reno.